This is such a big thing, right?
Thank you.
Come on, Jim. Good morning, Colin.
Morning.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. Fantastic. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for-
I wanted to be kind of businesslike.
Can I see the other gift?
Hello and welcome to Qatar's first sports podcast, In the Game. I'm your host, Steve Mackey, and we can't wait to introduce you to everything that is sports here in Qatar and afar. We're going to be bringing you personalities, company owners, institutions, individuals that are making a real difference. So, with us, enjoy the journey.
It's fun, man. Sports is fun.
Everyone, thank you for listening. Please send us your feedback on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And don't forget to review us on your favorite podcast app. Hello and welcome to In the Game, Qatar's first sports podcast. Again, I can't tell you how proud we are of being able to say that we're Qatar's first sports podcast. And if you've seen one of our podcasts, if you haven't seen one of our podcasts, it's all about the story. And today, please, Venu, please introduce yourself. And I'm so privileged to have you on the show because I know what we're going to talk about and it's going to be really, really interesting. So please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Steve. It's such a pleasure to be on this platform. My name is Venu, and I'm a sports marketing and analytics consultant. I've worked in the sports industry now for almost a decade, and really interesting. Really excited to be a part of this industry. And so I work with. Right now, I'm on a consulting assignment with many projects. So predominantly, right now, what I'm doing is working with a US-based company called Venugopal. So they are into digital fan engagement solutions for sports.
Vinu, I'm going to stop you here because I know you've got an exciting story and I want to take you back further. So come on, take me back to India when you're involved in the sporting side and tell everybody where you are today because we haven't even said that yet.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense. All right. So I was born and brought up in India, in New Delhi. I studied there, did my graduation, and then I actually moved to a place called Pune, which is closer to Mumbai. And I did my postgraduate diploma in management. And, I did my graduation in BSc in technology, but, I've never been into programming or that kind of a nerdy profession ever. It's predominantly been on the functional side of IT. So,
and let me say, there's nothing wrong with nerdies. They're going to be the rulers of this earth. Let me tell you.
Absolutely, yeah. At times I do ponder that I should have probably been on that side as well because that's where the demand is. But yeah, of course, nothing to regret about. But I'm loving what I'm doing. So I initially started off after my MBA. I actually started off my career in the IT services industry. Worked with a couple of prominent brands back in India in predominantly the sales and marketing domain. I was more or less in sales, pre-sales, marketing, those kind of roles. So I worked in the IT industry for about 5 odd years. And, meanwhile, all this while, I was always passionate about sports. I was playing cricket actively, and you must be knowing cricket is a religion back in India. And, nothing beats the popularity of that sport in India, right? So I always, as a dream, I actually wanted to be a cricketer, if you ask me, when I was young. But, it's like, not everybody gets to do what they want to do, right? So I just thought, why not keep playing the sport and, as a hobby on weekends and, continue playing it and enjoying it, right? If I could not make it a career.
You should see it here. I don't know if you've ever been to Qatar, but if you saw it here, I was driving down the road today and then there was some, I won't say waste ground, but it's not playing on grass, that's for sure. And it's an open space where there's rocks, there's boulders, there's all stuff. And somebody's gone and cleared the whole area where they're playing alongside the road. They're playing cricket. They're all in their uniforms and everything. And it's their joy. And there's 300 teams here in Qatar. They go out on a Thursday, Thursday evening. They'll go out on a Friday, and they'll be playing tomorrow. So 300 teams. Can you imagine? And they play it in areas where you wouldn't believe cricket could be played. It's incredible.
That's actually the beauty of the sport, right? It's pretty easy to kind of, innovate and accommodate anywhere and everywhere. It's like you just need a bat and a ball. You can make up your own stumps, you can make up your own rules, and, boundaries don't matter.
Ours was, I'll tell you how we used to play ours. And it's funny that we should be talking about this because we used to have a big tree. Well, it was a big tree.
Yeah.
It was about a wicket size. So that was
Yeah.
our kind of, and if you hit above that, you weren't out. And
Yeah.
what you would do is we had a road beside us and we had to be careful, but we would say that the road was a 4. Okay, so if it did go onto the road, there was nobody chasing after it and we didn't have to run and nobody was going to get knocked over. But we had gardens and we had houses that was just a little bit across, over to the road. So if we hit them in the garden, if we hit the ball in the garden for a 6, it was 6 and out because you couldn't you weren't allowed to go into somebody else's garden or smash windows, obviously. So it was you were out. If you got that, you got 6 runs and out. But it's incredible how cricket hits you, right? It's just an incredible sport.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you're absolutely right. And, whatever you said, takes me back down memory lane to how we used to play gully cricket. That's what we call it in India.
Gully, what's that? Tell me what that is.
So gully cricket is, all these alleys and, places, the smaller places in between buildings and stuff, we call it as gully in India.
Yeah.
So not the gully that you see in the cricket field, that's a fielding position. But, whatever alleys you see in between buildings and, wherever smaller spaces you could find, we used to call them gullies. And if you used to play cricket there, it used to be called gully cricket. And it's actually big in India, right? So because we don't have too much of space in the modern cities, because, there's so many buildings and so many houses. So what we used to do is, just play in between, in all those alleys. And, we used to have rules like what you said, right? If there's something which happens in this side of the pitch, if this crosses this road, it's 4, or, if it goes into this house, it's out. Or we also used to have, 1 bounce and 1 hand catches. So that we have different, So we used to call it 1 tip, 1 hand. So, so sometimes underarm bowling, sometimes overarm, so it all used to differ.
And I'm so glad because I can feel my whole face smiling right now because it, as you said, it just brings back memories, and that's what sport does for you. It's just fantastic. And I remember that there was one garden. And we used to do it with tennis balls, and we always knew that if anybody hit this one guy's house, it was like that ball was gone. He was going to run out, and he was going to take the ball, and we would have to get another ball, or the game was over.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's exactly the same thing which we used to have back home in India as well. Some of the guys never used to return our balls, so that was a no-go zone.
It was fantastic. So you played for some teams and you represented teams. I've never been into professional cricket per se, but predominantly club and corporate cricket. So in corporate, when I was working in the IT industry as well, so our companies used to have teams. So we used to play in those corporate leagues, which used to happen on weekends. And plus we used to also have a bunch of friends together, forming a club and playing in club tournaments and stuff. So, but that was quite competitive. It was, even though it wasn't professional, or I used to call it semi-professional. We used to play T20s and sometimes even 45-over games, but it was quite competitive. It was for fun, but it used to be quite, intense as well. So, so that was something which we really used to look forward to on weekends because, the entire week used to go spending time in the office, and, this was a great stress buster. Playing cricket with friends and, being competitive, being in the zone, and, it kind of vents out a lot of things which is inside you, right, over the week, which accumulates. So that was, and that's why, I believe sport is always a great, medium to kind of release stress as well as, unite people together and do a lot of good things together. So it gives you the good face, and memories are everything. And this is what I love about the podcast that we do, is it we see your face, and this is what I'm looking at, because let's talk just briefly about the COVID. It's been a tough time. And it's if you gave me the option of doing a kind of a virtual meeting or with somebody sitting in front of you, what it's always going to be. It's going to be that one sitting in front of you. But even now, you get to a stage where I'm doing this interview with you, and I don't care who's listening or who isn't listening, because it's just me and you having a chat. So all those memories that come flooding back and that you utilize, and you just realize how versatile that you were as kids. And
Exactly.
how, if you weren't exposed to that, you probably weren't as good. Because it's probably, just listening to you, it's
Yep.
probably helped me so much in my business life, because you
Correct.
just kind of thought about different things, using your, just using things as
Yeah.
a stand-in,
Yeah.
you know, it was utilizing different
Absolutely.
things. Yeah, so it's
Absolutely.
what
Yeah, I
sports.
think, I think it teaches you teamwork, number one. Plus, it teaches you that, not every day is going to be your day, right? Sometimes you just need to bite the bullet and come back stronger, right? So that's the biggest learning out of sport that I can derive, that, people have good days and people have not so good days. But then, how do you bounce back is more important. And of course, how do you stick together as a team in good times and bad times? That's the most important learning that I've derived.
100%. And coming together as a team and helping each other. You've missed out if you haven't been part of it.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And I'm going to go on to something else now, because I know that we're going to go on to the sports tech very soon, but it's kind of, I like this memory stuff. This memory stuff is really, really good. It's kind of, it's nice to go back. And sports itself, it's like, how it's like we used to play all hours, any hours that we could play as youngsters, we would be out there. We would be out there getting our shirts off, making a goal, or kind of just getting the kids together. It was fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think, and that's something which I definitely want this new generation to also do. Somewhere I feel that, too much of technology is also not good, because it's not exposing them to what's happening outside, right? What I see in modern day kids is, always they are stuck up to their iPads and phones and stuff. I don't want that to become a reality, that wherein, all the sport that displays only on the, digital, mediums. I want them to go out and express themselves, understand what it is like to kind of, sweat it out and, challenge their bodies and, kind of go for the unknown, right? That's something which I really want the generations coming to learn, and I think that's the saddest part about this year, honestly, with COVID, that, we're not able to go out that much. And that's something which I really, want to kind of come back to normal, right? And you're seeing it actually, right? With IPL happening now, sport is bringing so much of joy to people, at least it's kind of reducing the stress when you're able to see live television and live sport as well.
I think it's really good, and this is the type of thing that we've got to keep on bringing into the kids. Is it we do want to get them to get out there and play sports, because there's no better feeling. And the thing with it is, can you remember? And I'm sorry, I'm getting all these memories in my mind. It's like when you were saying about we would have a good day or we would have a bad day. It's like I'm just going to talk about my stuff. Was you wanted a bat for you? You just want to stay in batting, didn't you? You didn't want to get out. You just didn't want to get out. It was like, and you would fight to stay in that crease.
Correct. Absolutely. And, even that's the batting part of it. Even when you're bowling or fielding, right, you don't want to give an inch, and, all those modern day fielding techniques of diving for the ball and, kind of reaching for the ball with all your body on the line and stuff, that's something which kind of brings out your adrenaline. And, that's something which really,
I used to love wicket keeping, because it was like you could be a hero, right? And those catches that they just got a clip, and you would be there and you would pull off a catch or a one-arm catch. And I could never understand why giving that to the bowler would get all the praise. It was like, what I've done, and he's going to get a wicket. He's going to get the kind of credit for it. Come on,
exactly.
It's like, well, that's cricket. But it's funny now that I'm talking to you now. We were just before we started. I said, so what's it like being in Canada now? And because you've been in Delhi, you've been in Pune, it's like it must be. Did you go to Canada in the winter or the summer?
So we arrived here in November of 2017, peak winter time. Trust me, a big change from what we have back home. So the winter that we have there, especially in Pune, that's like the early summer or springtime that we have here. That's how it is. That's the huge difference that we have. So the biggest difference here being that summer is predominantly 3 or 4 months. That's when we have the peak summer season. Apart from that, it's it's either fall season or it's either spring season or the big long winter, which is 6 months long here. So yeah, so that's a big change. And I actually now relate back to how things might be in even England, because it's a similar kind of weather feeling there as well. Because that's where cricket generally starts in April or May, if I'm not wrong, and then the county season kind of goes on till about September. Yeah, so now I'm actually kind of relating back to how things are there, with all those swinging, seeming conditions, overcast skies and stuff.
Oh, yeah. But I look at it now. I'm thinking about because I've been to Canada once, and it's
Yep.
cold. It is cold.
It
It's
is
like,
cold. Yeah, it is
You're
definitely cold.
shoveling snow most of the winter, and you might kind of get
Yes.
the first shovel, and then you've got to go because it's just dumped a lot more on you.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's true if you're living in your own individual house. Yeah, but if you're living in a condo or an apartment, that's the better part of it. That in winter you don't need to do the shoveling part. Yeah, so that's something which is a big change. But yeah, I think life is different here. Especially cricket is being a summer sport. You only get to play 3 months a year. So I play club cricket out here with the local club, and
Okay.
yeah, and it's quite interesting because here the big difference being there's a lot of wind. The wind factor is big, and I figured that out actually. I learned it the hard way when I came here for the first season, and generally I'm a pretty safe fielder, and I try to pouch everything which comes my way. But here, when you have those high catches coming, right, the wind kind of swirls the ball around, and it's not easy at all to kind of come under the ball and catch it cleanly. So I actually dropped 2 or 3 catches in my first 2 or 3 games. So I was like, what's happening? Is this me? Is it something which I'm, doing wrong or what? Then I figured out that the wind plays a huge part here. So, it requires a lot of getting used to it, not just in fielding, but even in batting, so because the fields are all open from all sides, there's hardly any interference. So even when you're batting, right, if you hit against the wind, there's likelihood that, you'll get caught down the boundary line. So that also needs to be taken into account. So these are the interesting aspects.
Have you tried Have you tried the Canadian sports yet? Have you tried the ice hockey or the ice skating?
So ice hockey is not something which I've tried, but yeah, ice skating is something which I've tried. My son used to skate a lot. So it's quite interesting. It's really, challenging as well, but interesting. It's quite fun as well. If you like doing if you love doing it, you will find it really fun. But yeah, if you're scared of it, if you're scared of falling and stuff, then that's a difficult sport to kind of get used to.
One day, and even though I'm 54, one day I want to try the pond hockey. Where you,
wow.
that's what I want to try. I want to try
Yeah.
this. And one of the other questions on Canada, which always springs to mind, is poutine. Have you tried poutine?
I have tried the vegetarian version because I'm actually a vegetarian. but I do understand it's quite popular out here. So there's a lot of Canadian things which I've actually got used to, and there's a big coffee culture out here as well. I don't know if you had visited Tim Hortons, which is a famous brand out here.
The donuts, right?
The donuts and the coffee, and they call it double and stuff. So 2 milk and 2 sugar is called as double. So these are the terms that I'm kind of getting used to. But it's quite interesting.
Canada was another one when they in the soup they break up crackers. They put crackers in their soup, right?
I haven't tried that yet, but I've heard about it.
It's like I couldn't understand it. They said, "What are you going to do with your crackers?" I said, "I don't know. I don't know why I've got crackers with my soup for." And they said, "No. You've got to crumble them into the soup." And it's like, "No, I don't want to do that." But Canada's a wonderful place, and it's a wonderful place.
Yeah.
Let's get.
There's a lot of natural beauty around. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, Niagara Falls, right?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
My friend Chris Iliff lives in Wasaga Beach.
Oh, that's a very popular tourist spot. Yep.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
Yep.
But let's go to this. Let's get to the States because I've really enjoyed the first part of the show because it's all about memories. It's all about the story.
Correct.
So you're now into sports tech. With your career and your love of sports, you've put those together, right?
Correct. Yeah. So coming back to where I was with the IT industry part. So yeah, about 5 odd years down the line, I actually started doing some soul searching, and I really wanted to do something different. because it was kind of getting a little mundane for me, the work life that I had. And, I wanted a new challenge and I wanted to do something which I really loved doing, and I always believe that if you're doing something and if it's coming from your heart and, if you really love it and, put your soul into it, it gets the best results.
Yeah.
And and that's when, like you mentioned, I saw sport and I saw technology and I married the two together. And I thought that this is the best combination I could get in terms of a career.
Was it difficult to do that at first, or was it a light bulb moment? Was it difficult?
Tough. It was tough. It was tough because back in India, at that point in time, and I'm talking about 2008, 9, 10, that period, cricket was again predominantly the most tech savvy sport, if I could call so. So that was the only sport wherein technology was being used consistently and, a lot as well in terms of analytics, in terms of video analysis, in terms of statistics, in terms of, many other things. So that was already a market which was covered with a lot of players in the market there as well. And plus there was a lot of competition, and plus it was a niche market. So it was difficult to get into as an outsider. So that's where I found a little bit of, challenges in terms of how do I get into this space. So with my regular job, I started doing a bit of research and some kind of freelance consulting work with some companies. So there's a company based out of the UK called Pitch Vision. I'm sure you would have heard about it. Yep. So I started doing some consulting projects with them initially. And then I, started working with another startup in India, which was trying to venture out into the cricket space, in the analytics space. And that's when actually the transformation happened, because when I was trying to work with them on weekends and, off my office hours, I started doing a lot of work with them. And one day it eventually happened that they had an opportunity to go and present to an IPL franchise called Kings 11 Punjab. And that was actually the turning point, wherein, they asked me to go and present. They saw my sales and marketing background and the tech background as well. So they said, why don't you go on behalf of the company, and, we'll send somebody from our side as well to support you. And the Aussie Michael Bevan, he was the coach back then. And so that was a big moment for me to go and meet him directly and present to him. So so that was a big learning. We eventually got the deal. So that actually really, really helped me propagate my career in this direction. And that's when I thought that, it's time to take that leap of faith and plunge into this full time.
Yeah.
So
Go on.
Yeah.
And what is it like with you now? What are you kind of, if you can say, or what are the things that you're focusing on right now when it comes to sports tech?
Yeah, sure. So, so I'll just take it back to that story and then I'll come to where it is now.
Perfect.
So I initially started off working with this company, which was doing this work with this IPL franchise.
Yeah.
And, so they were predominantly into video analysis and stats and stuff, and analytics. So, after working with them for a year, I was account managing this IPL team, and, I was helping them with more marketing and sales and stuff. And that's when, a year down the line, I really got a very, very big break with an Australian company called Sports Tech. It is actually now known as Huddle. It's a video analysis company based out of the US, which has acquired Sports Tech. So Sports Tech wanted to grow in India, and they saw my profile and my background and my work that I did with this company and stuff. So that's when they thought it's a good opportunity to get me on board, along with another sales head. And, we kind of started. Yeah, sorry. You had a question.
I'm sorry to cut over you. I'm just for people that's listening. What did the tech actually do? So
Sure. Yeah, so Sports Tech was predominantly a company which was dealing in performance analysis products and solutions.
Okay.
So this was into video analysis. So for example, if you are playing in the nets, right, you could have your own footage and you could come back to the system, feed the video in, and you can actually break it down into components. You could actually do a bit of biomechanical analysis as well by drawing angles and your lines and stuff in terms of where your head position is and stuff. So that's one part of it. Another part of it is game analysis. So if your team, it could be, it was kind of sports agnostic. It could be used across sports. All you needed to do is draw your own parameters for analysis and, just put those buttons in place. And as and when you see the video, you can just tag each moment happening. And then when you come back, you have a rich, analysis in front of you with data plus statistics plus, a lot of things combined together. So that was the whole tech part of it, wherein, video analysis was big, and it's still big. And that time sports tech was one of the pioneers in this business.
But that's all complicated, right? If I'm thinking about all the technology that goes behind it, oh my word, the project manager needed to be were you ever close to a nervous breakdown? Because it was like trying to put that technology into use, right?
Yeah, so actually, and that's where, the passion plays a big role. Whoever is doing this, needs to be passionate about two things. One is sports, one is technology, and when I say technology, I don't necessarily mean that you need to be a nerdy guy, understanding programming and language and stuff. All you need to understand is how do I operate computers? How do I use a system? How do I get trained to kind of do this day in and day out? And once you understand the sport, and that's the most important aspect actually. And apparently now I'm doing a lot of teaching as well, in a couple of sports management schools, and that's where I teach them sports analytics and sports tech, with all my experience that I've gained with these organizations. So I keep telling them that if you want to enter this domain and this market, all you need is two things. One is, of course, passion for your sport, any sport of your choice, which you feel you know in depth. That's the most important aspect. You can't just go in there and assume that you know a lot of things. You need to do a lot of research. If you love cricket, you need to watch a lot of cricket. You need to understand the rules of the sport. You need to understand the techniques and stuff. And second is you need to have a fair idea of how how you operate computers and peripheral devices like video cameras and stuff. That's something which you need to understand if you want to become an analyst. And of course, the third is communication and listening skills. I think that's the most important aspect. We all understand communication is important, but listening skill is the most important aspect. That's what I feel, because having worked with coaches, you need to understand what they want, because they are literally your customer, and you're in that interface wherein you have to serve your customer. He is your customer, the coach and the team, in terms of what they want, and understand, how do you deliver it in the best possible manner.
But Venu, so people are going to get such content there, because what you've said is it's crucial. You've got to take those things into account, and they've got to listen to your words there, because if they don't listen to your words there, then what's going to happen is that they're going to waste so much of their life trying to find something that they'll never find, because they didn't take those first factors that you've just said into account. That's just brilliant. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So go on, keep on going with your story.
Yeah,
It's fascinating.
and there's a funny story. The reason why I mentioned communication and listening skills is because, I figured out in this industry, it's such a small world, right? You have coaches coming from all parts of the world. And, and I've experienced that every coach coming from a different country will have a different accent, will have a different culture, will have a different attitude towards coaching. So, that's very important to understand. For example, I worked with one of the football clubs in India, and we had a complete English coaching setup. And, we had guys coming from places like Yorkshire, and how the Yorkshire accent is, right? So having listened to Jeffrey Boycott on commentary all these years, I do understand how they speak. So, the first time I met the coach, and he was such a lovely guy, and, very, very nice coach to work with. And, the first time when I met this coaching staff and the team, and, he was like, "Hello, Venu, let's meet on the Monday, and I'll give you a run for your money." And I was like, okay, I didn't get a single word of what you said, but then, it's pretty exciting to hear that accent.
Oh, that's just brilliant.
And we had one guy from Montenegro. He was the goalkeeper coach. And, so that was all. It was really, really good to kind of have an amalgamation of all cultures mixed together. And that's why, listening and understanding their culture and, understanding what they want is very, very important. And Aussie might be completely different, that they are right in your face and, they'll tell you as it is, right? So, so those are the kind of cultural things that you need to learn. So, yeah, so that was quite interesting.
How has this helped you in your career so far?
Oh, lovely, because, it was amazing, because I got to understand how people, think differently and see data and analytics differently, because, every coach and every team, wants something different. And that's what you as an analyst or a person working in the industry need to understand. Because, it may not be that, if somebody says, if somebody's seeing this as 6, the guy from the other side might be seeing it as 9, and that's what you need to understand as a perspective. So, there are always two sides of a coin. You can't just keep harping that this is what it is. Let the other person take decisions. You just show them the data. And this is something which is very important. I keep telling people as well, especially the student, who wants to become an analyst. that, your role is not to coach. Your role is not to tell what to do. Your role is just being a facilitator. That's what I keep telling people. Your role is just being an enabler, a facilitator, to help the coach with better decision making, to help the team win games. Your role is not to go there and tell them that this is what you need to do, right? So that's where you draw the fine line.
And just talking to you, and I'm so glad that, and we never planned this at all, this whole talk. But isn't it funny how we're talking about these things, and all you're doing is you're being a part of that team. You're
exactly,
the one.
exactly.
You're not trying to do too much. You're there to do the best you can at your analytics.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
all you are is you're an enabler, so that they
exactly.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. And the best part about this job was, it was like, it was not like your everyday 9-to-5 job, which you sit and do at your work desk. You get to travel with the team. You get to go to stadiums. The stadium is literally your workplace, because you go there and film the game, come back, put it into your system, and you get to cheer the team from where you're sitting or standing, and you get to see the live action, right? So that's like a dream job for people who are associated with sport. Living the dream is what I call it, just being there with the team, in all the ups and downs. And if you have played sport, you will understand how it is being in a situation where you lose or where you win, the highs and lows, everything is kind of experienced. And it's amazing, right?
You are definitely the ambassador for analytics, because I never realized just how good it was, because it's always, to me, it's not something that I've ever wanted to get into, but just listening to you and talking to me about this, I want to become I want to become one. I want to become somebody like you, because it sounds like you're having a ball. With this,
this actually, sorry, go ahead.
No, with this, so, and because I kind of, with what's happening at the moment with the COVID, this must be a pretty, like, analytics, sports technology must be huge at the moment, right?
Correct. So the only challenge is with no live sport. That's where the industry was hit a lot initially. But now I think slowly and steadily everything is coming back. In fact, now what we're seeing is a big revolution in AI, which is artificial intelligence. So, with limited crew members as well, being allowed to go to stadiums, now a lot of these companies have started developing AI-based cameras as well, which can do player tracking, on the field, which is unmanned cameras. So, that's coming up in a big way as well.
Have a look at Sponic Tech, okay? Sponic Tech. Yep. They were a part of the Qatar Sports Tech, and they are incredible. They've got this product. Just have a look at it, search it when you finish with it. Because they're just incredible. They do exactly that. And when I was one of those skeptics, when somebody said AI, I'm like, is that really out there at the moment? Has it gone that far? Is it making ground? Because I suppose years ago, when somebody said AI, you're just looking at them and thinking, is it just buzzwords that you're using? Is it kind of, but they're really using it now. It's being integrated into,
Absolutely. Correct. You know what? Even I was skeptical initially, honestly, with AI, because even now it's not 100% foolproof solution. But then, it's kind of getting to a stage wherein, AI is helping us down with cutting down all the mundane tasks. And, that's where it's helping, because all the donkey work that I used to do as an analyst is kind of cut down, because, I used to do a lot of reports and stuff, which now can be replicated by using an AI thing, which saves my time as an analyst, So that's something which is quite interesting. This cameras tracking players and, getting automated reports, that really helps a lot, because, it saves time for the team, for the coaches, for the analysts, and, it helps them kind of bring out more and more data from the reports which are automatically generated. So that's quite interesting, actually.
Dear me. And you said beforehand that you're working a lot on fan engagement. How is fan engagement going now that we've got this COVID? How are people not taking advantage? How are they kind of adapting?
Yep. So if you see the modern day fan, the way he or she consumes content is completely changed from what it was, say, 20 years back, right? So it was all about, earlier it used to be newspapers or news channels or live television. But now a lot of this content is being consumed on your mobile, your platform, or, on OTT platforms and stuff, or on social media as well. So fan engagement has actually completely changed now. The fan has a lot of, especially the younger generation, has a lot of distractions nowadays. Even when they are watching sport, They're still distracted. They're on their iPads or on their mobile phones, on social media, on WhatsApp. They're chatting, they're discussing, they're, seeing as well as talking about sport simultaneously, right? So how do you channelize that the kind of distractions, into something more which is meaningful for the team or for the league or for the sport itself? That's what we are trying to achieve. So right now, what I'm trying to do is with a company called Finisco. It's based out of the US, and they are into digital fan engagement. So what we mean by digital fan engagement is, nowadays, if you see the modern day fan, unlike people of your era or even my era, right? Not everybody would want to go to a stadium to watch sport because they may not have the time.
Yeah.
So how do we get sport to them, on sitting in their couch or in their man caves or wherever they are, right? So how do we kind of get that to them? So that's where the whole idea is, wherein, we have come up with helping teams with coming up with mobile apps, specifically for a team, coming up with gamification, coming up with content, trivias, and now what the buzzword is in this domain is called as augmented reality. So,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
my word. Now you've got me excited.
Yeah. So with augmented reality is, what we are providing to a fan is not just plain vanilla content. We are trying to give him him or her, a more immersive experience, to kind of be there with the team, with their favorite player, or participate in a contest wherein, they could make a face filter, they could make something else, or, they could be in a contest, with a team or something like that. And, their face or their photograph would be published on social media. You could tie sponsorship to it as well, because, a sponsor, what does the sponsor want? They want eyeballs, and gone are the days wherein they used to do logo slapping on the fields, that's the old way of thinking. But with digital, it's a completely new playground. It's a completely open playground for sponsors to do whatever they want, however they want. You could do different campaigns at different time of the tournament. For example, you need not engage with just one sponsor. Okay, one sponsor could be your title sponsor, but you could have weekly, gamification contest. You could have augmented reality filters just for one sponsor. So, so that kind of gives you a completely new spectrum. And, that's where the teams also have an opportunity to kind of earn sponsorship revenues, through these digital mediums, as well as, get more and more fans to come on their platform and, cheer for their team, even wherever they are.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to achieve.
I'm gonna, after the call, I'm gonna share some information with you, because we work with a company called, there's two companies which I find them absolutely amazing, and how they've got the foresight, and especially in the augmented reality. One is called, and I'm going to give a big shout out for them because they're fantastic. One is arlupa.com, which they're an Armenian company, and what they're doing with AR is just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. It's incredible. And I've got another company that I work with, which is called MoodMe, and it's a startup. And basically they do filters that you've just said, where you have the filters on there, and they use AI. So it's and the great thing about them is they're not just thinking about the filters and how they could be fan engagement, etc., etc. They're thinking about a whole host of other things when it comes to making sure that when they put a filter on a say for instance a lady, then it's already kind of looking at her her persona or her facial expressions. And it's the shirts are going to be different in those type of things.
Correct. That's exactly what we do as well, honestly.
Yeah. and then you look at it and you say that there's so many other things that you can do with AI and the facial expressions, that again, there's just so many things that you can integrate with it. And it's going to be, without a doubt, it's going to be, it's already here. It's the future.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I said before as well, right? It's a more immersive experience wherein, a fan is getting just much more than just some plain content, right? So it's not vanilla content that you have. It's more of, how do you get more out of technology? And the modern day fans, they want something different. They want something which kind of brings the best out of them as well, apart from what the team is doing, right? So this is actually creating a competitive environment within their own network of fans, right? That my face filter was the best, or, my score prediction was the best. How do I kind of get the competitiveness out of the fans?
Yeah.
So that is what the world is kind of getting into when it comes to digital fan engagement.
And it's so good that we've got people like you out there, because it's taking advantage of opportunities, because they've just been, there's no crowds anymore. Where's all that money gone? The money's not in the game. It's not there.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna kind of fill that gap?
Correct. And absolutely right. And this is something which we have been harping about with team for the last couple of years and so. And but now with COVID-19, fortunately or unfortunately, but the teams have actually got to a point wherein they need to take a call, because the regular mode of fan engagement is not valid anymore, because we have fanless stadiums now. We are having sports being played behind closed doors. So what do? This is the only platform that they go to. And with Tanisco, it's interesting that we have been talking to team for the last couple of years, and it's just now that this year they've realized that they have nowhere to go and they have to actually go for something like this. And in fact, teams are coming back to us, whom we have spoken to before, and asking that how could we help them. So that's the level of digital innovation that is happening now in the industry.
That's brilliant, and fair play to you, because that's just, it's an industry that was on its knees, and they're trying to survive. And it's lovely that you've got people like you that's out there doing these type of things. I know that I can't believe the time has gone so quickly, but we're just going to keep on going, because I find it fascinating. And what I want to talk about now, because we do get a lot of people, and we're going to get more people listening to us about startups, so sports tech startups. And what would be your advice to somebody that's got this idea? They've got an idea, they've got a concept that they want to take it forward with. What would your advice be to them?
Interesting. So that's a great question. One thing is that obviously you need to come up with either a unique idea which nobody else has thought about. That's the number one thing. If you want to be in sports tech, So if that is the case, then a lot of companies or a lot of investors and a lot of people will actually listen to you, because if it's something which people have not seen before, that's something which always catches people's attention. So that's number one. And of course, you need to do a good job in terms of implementing it, right? You can't have loose ends. You cannot cut corners. If you're doing something, put your heart and soul into it. That's one advice. The second is, if you are already entering into a cluttered market space, wherein there are already competitors doing something similar to you, how do you create that differentiation? How do you be different and stand out from your competition? That is something which you need to think about. And that's something which is very, very important, because, it cannot be a run of the mill thing, that, oh my God, this guy is doing this, let me also try and do this, See, I mean, trying to emulate something is fine, but how do you emulate and create a difference and, bring out the best in your product, vis-a-vis your competition? That is something which is more important. It could be either your product, or it could be the way you service a client as well. How do you give the client something different than what the other guys are giving? So that is something which is the most critical aspect, which I feel in the sports tech business as well.
And another one, and this is going to be a difficult one for you, I know, but I'm going to ask you. It's like, what should people be considering right now for a sports tech company?
So you're saying in terms of career options, or
not career? If they were going to start, if they were thinking, I want to do a sports tech.
The idea you're taking. All right.
What ideas should they be just exploring right now?
Interesting. So I think we touched upon AI a bit earlier. So probably that is obviously one area where they need to kind of think about and see how do we use machine learning or deep learning algorithms and reduce human efforts. And I think that is the most important technological challenge or technological innovation that you need to think about. Because I remember doing a lot of donkey work as an analyst, like I said before. How do I get to reduce that, and how do I automate a lot of things to help some of the clients or some of the analysts or some of the teams get to decision making faster? That is something which I want that I would probably foresee as a lot of these things happening in the future in the sports tech space. So probably wherever you could use AI, deep learning, machine learning, and kind of come up with interesting algorithms, and of course with accurate data. That is the most important aspect. How do you maintain that accuracy of data?
And I suppose one thing I would say to that as well, especially if somebody, because I like people to have these different ideas and concepts, and I keep on saying to people, make partnerships. Partnerships are the way to go for me. It's like join with people, connect with people. And it's like, just because you have no experience in AI whatsoever, go and find somebody that does, and then come together as a team. Because you said that your skills when in the beginning was sales and marketing, right? Would you call yourself just a sales and marketing person now, or have you learned from other members?
No. Oh, it's humongous, right? Because it's when you be in the industry, you get to learn so many new things. And again, analytics is something which I did not have any prior experience on, but that was something which I wanted to explore. Being a cricket fanatic, I wanted to be in the cricket analytics space or the sports analytics space. So the biggest skill which I learned was, after my stint with sports tech, I joined a football club. I had absolutely no clue or no idea about analytics in football at that point in time. But everything what I learned was there was on the job. What I knew was obviously the system which I was using, the software, and what I knew was how do I communicate with the coaches and get the best out of them in terms of what do they want, right? So that is something which I managed together. And I learned football analytics on the way because, I never knew football in that detail, but actually I learned everything on the job. So that was a big learning for me. And now I'm actually able to understand what each other sport might also need, because, all you need to understand is what is the input, what is the output, and what does the coach want, right? And how do I get the best out of that? So that is something which is a big, big learning curve for me. So now I'm actually even able to advise people on technology in terms of, if your need is this, what technology should you go for, with vis-a-vis your budget, the costing, as well as the features, advantages, benefits of using such systems and stuff. So that is something which has been a big learning curve for me.
I tell you, it has been a wonderful, wonderful evening. I'm so glad that you've joined me all the way from Canada. Whereabouts in Canada
pleasure.
are you?
So I'm based out of Toronto.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah, I love Toronto.
Oh yeah, it's a nice place, definitely.
Yeah,
for sure.
You've joined us all the way from Toronto. It's been absolutely fascinating. I really, and this is the one thing with all the guests that I get coming on the shows, is it that I tend, whether it's virtual, whether it's personal, I want to be their friends forever, right?
Yeah.
And you're exactly one of those people, because you're the ones, and again, I was hoping that you would fit into our mold. I knew when I read your profile, I thought to myself, this is going to be a great one, because he pays back, he passes on, he gives everything to others as well as himself. And I haven't what's the word I'm trying to say right now? I'm messing up, but I don't care. Is it that you're the ideal guest to come on the show, because you've given us so much information and so much advice that I guarantee you, if you just listen to Venu, you will learn so much, and you won't have to make the same mistakes that we probably did. You can do it a faster way. You can do it without making those mistakes. I'm going to be your friend for a long, long time now. We're going to do business together, I'm sure.
Thank you so much, Steve. Really appreciate your kind words. And like I said, I'm no expert. I'm still learning, and always happy to pass the knowledge back, and grow the industry, and make it a complete circle of an ecosystem wherein everybody shares things. That's something which I want to really do.
I'm going to be doing another podcast for business startups, and
Sure.
Because we're involved in the sports and sports tech, I want you to come back up and share these tips and knowledge with others too. So when I do get that up and running, which is going to be very soon, honestly, I want you back on. But thanks very much for joining us. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed the show today. It was incredible. There was so much for you to gauge from. And I really, there was just so much to listen. Watch it one time, watch it two times. Because literally, I don't say this all the time, but there were some absolute gems in there that is going to give you such an insight on how you want to go forward from your own perspective. And really, whether you're starting up, whether you're kind of building a team, the team is so important. We started joking and we talked about our memories and playing sports. It's embedded. Be a part of a team. You cannot do this on yourself. You can't do it on your own. Okay, so get out there, look for your team players, look for the strengths in those people that are going to bring something to your startup, because they're out there, and there's people like Vinu out there. So please, I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I have today. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Everybody, thanks for listening to In the Game. See you next week. Cheers then. Bye.
Everyone, thank you for listening. Please send us your feedback on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And don't forget to review us on your favorite podcast app.